You know, I hope whoever it was at Disney that said that the Mandalorian needed to have his helmet off because you can't convey emotions without showing faces feels real foolish right now. Can't show emotions without faces. I'd argue in some cases it's easier to show a character's emotion through their actions as opposed to their big, gross, ugly head. Take the Doomslayer from Doom, for instance. Granted, that's not a hard thing to accomplish, just show him smashing a couple things or demons with his meat hunks and you get the idea, but my point still stands. What's harder though is figuring out what the hell else is going on through the Slayer's head, since I'm pretty sure he says less than 10 words throughout the entire trilogy and I'm not being hyperbolic. He says literally none in 2016 and one singular word in Dark Ages, though that one word went pretty damn hard. Because the Slayer is very silent, you can't grasp exactly what his goals and motivations are beyond just killing every demon in sight, if he even has one. Though I think he does, and in this video I want to examine the Slayer's actions throughout the 3 games and see if there is another layer to the Slayer besides just being incredibly fuck-ass mad. I guess since it's technically canon now, I should take a quick glimpse at old Doom. In the original 1995 Doom game, the Marine was just some dude who was a descendant of some Jew and really hated the demons of hell. That hatred stemmed from the demons killing his wife and child, which I guess is reason enough to genocide the denizens of hell. There's also his pet rabbit, I guess, but the wife and child part might be a bit more impactful, but who knows, he could have really loved that rabbit. Doom Guy in the original series is a very straightforward man. Kill demons because he's upset over losing his loved ones. Pretty simple and common motivation for a main character. That's not the part of him I'm interested in though. While it is an important part of his character and should be looked at as a sort of catalyst for some of my later points, I think he gets a lot more interesting after arriving in Argent D'Nor and becoming the Slayer. When Doom 64 got a modern port, it also came with new levels and an extra ending that helps tie into the plot of the new games. At the end, the Doom Guy decides to stay in hell and eternally fight the demons. After doing that for God knows how long, he somehow ends up in the realm of Argent D'Nor and is captured by the Night Sentinels. By this point, John Doom has become nuttier than squirrel shit and can only think about killing demons. By this point, the Argenta have no clue what demons are, but the gods they just started worshipping recently, known as the Makers, have taken a special interest in these creatures. Doom Guy, though, is pretty much taken as a slave and used as cannon fodder in the Night Sentinels' wars. Luckily for him, however, the demons decided to pay a visit to Argent D'Nor, which gives him an excuse to go batshit insane. The Night Sentinels were shocked at how incredibly well this random outsider is at killing demons, and decided to make better use of him. They still treat him like a slave though, but like a slave with some rights, just none of the fun ones. However, during the demon siege of Taras Nabad, Samor Maker, right hand of the father, releases Doom Guy from his cell and guides him to the divinity machine, which essentially turns him from an angry marine to an angry immortal god that the demons stand no chance against. From this point, the Slayer became feared by not only the demons, but the Night Sentinels as well. They also saw him as a weapon. He wasn't treated like a slave anymore, but he also wasn't treated like a person. They armed the Slayer to become more powerful, but unfortunately for him, the Makers didn't want something as powerful as him to roam freely, so they tied a bomb to him and wiped his brain of everything except his hatred for demons, which leads to the events of Doom the Dark Ages. So his original motivations and goals are pretty clear-cut. Kill the demons to get vengeance for his dead family and pet. It's good enough motivation for a character to have, and I still believe the Slayer holds on to those, even into the new trilogy, but I think after joining the Night Sentinels, his views didn't change, but more so evolved. One of the biggest plot points in the new Doom universe is Argent Energy, a combination of Sentinel and Hell energy to create the ultimate power source. The Argenta created super weapons of mass destruction with it and shared it with the Makers so they can continue to thrive as well. The Slayer absolutely benefited from this as well. Argent Energy made him stronger with things like the Crucible and the Praetor suit, but you can probably guess why someone like him would have a problem with it. That problem being half the ingredients for Argent Energy comes from Hell. In 2016, Samuel Hayden wants the Slayer to temporarily shut down the production of Argent Energy because humanity could really benefit from it, but the Slayer says fuck that and completely destroys any chance of Argent Energy existing in this realm. There's some speculation as to why the Slayer did this. Some thought it was to spite Hayden because he thought it was annoying, which is pretty funny. Some thought he didn't have time for all that and just destroyed it to be faster, which isn't unreasonable. The theory I subscribe to and find the most interesting is that the Slayer destroyed Argent production because he witnessed firsthand what meddling with it entails. It's because of the Night Sentinels and Makers fucking around with Hell to make Argent Energy that caused their downfall. Maybe less so the Makers, but their greed for Argent Energy did cost them in Eternal. If Argent D'Nor never discovered Hell and continued to rely on Sentinel energy, would they have eventually been broken and fragmented? Granted, you can partially blame the Slayer for that since he introduced them to Hell, but they didn't have to get as involved as they did. I think the Slayer believes that Earth getting involved with Argent energy will lead them down the same path the Night Sentinels followed, and he refuses to let that happen. My entire interpretation of the Doomslayer is that he is humanity first. During the Unholy Crusades, as little as we know about it, we are told that the Slayer nearly single-handedly brought the Agaddon Hunters to extinction. The Agaddon Hunters are not demons, they are an alien race who were enslaved by the demons. He didn't need to do all that. He could have freed them or just killed the ones who were in the way, but he decided, nah, all these fuckers gotta die because that's the only way to protect humanity. In complete contrast to Thera in the Dark Ages, the Creed gave him an easy out and told him that if the Slayer just caps her cracker ass, Azric would have lost his power, but he doesn't make that sacrifice because Thera is human and he won't kill humans. Yeah, he did kill cultists in the same game, but if Warhammer 40k taught me anything, it's that cultists aren't people, so they don't count. It's not even, oh, she's on his ship and he doesn't need to go there, because we see in the Cosmic Realm when the Slayer goes to rescue Thera, he is incredibly gentle with her. The Doomslayer was gentle. The same guy who rips out spines, pulls teeth and slits throats with them, snaps bones and stabs enemies with their own forearm type guy. Even in Doom Eternal during his few encounters with other people, he never actually hurt any of them. He did shove a dude out of the BFG and scared a dude by dragging him by the keycard, but he didn't hurt any of them, and in my headcanon, I imagine the Slayer scared that dude solely because he thought it would be funny and was internally laughing to himself. Back on the topic of him killing anyone who isn't human, can we talk about how badly he just fucks the Makers? Now, I'm not 100% on the specifics of the ritual, so forgive my ignorance. The Slayer absolutely did not need to break the seal on Urdak to kill the Icon of Sin. We were never told that the Icon was immortal while under Maker control, or he could have just waited till the Icon left Urdak before breaking control to prevent the seal from breaking and spare the innocent Makers. He dooms Urdak and the Makers for the same reason he destroyed Argent energy on Earth. He saw what they did and were capable of and decided to completely wipe them out to prevent it from happening again. Tom, doesn't that technically make him xenophobic and not racist? Well, yes, you are correct, but also putting racist in the thumbnail was way funnier than xenophobic. The Slayer is willing to sacrifice anything if it means keeping humanity safe. He also didn't need to tell Novik to run before blasting Azric. He could have done it either way and achieved the same result at the cost of one human casualty. While we're on Novik, to counter the idea the Slayer ignores humans because he doesn't need to bother with them, for a man who's essentially a god and there exists no entity stronger than him, he sure is a respectful man and has no problem bowing before a man he decided was his king. He could have blown off Novik as much as he wants. What the fuck is he gonna do? Take away a super shotgun? He's also incredibly respectful to his fellow Night Sentinels. His own brothers turned on him because the Slayer killed a priest corrupted by Hell, but the Slayer doesn't hold it against him and decides to leave instead of killing his fellow man. One of the final actions the Slayer does that is up to a lot of interpretation is him destroying the Father's life sphere. It's a really random action at first glance, because why the hell would he do that? Was he just annoyed by Hayden again and broke it to piss him off? Because that would be really funny if both the reason to destroy Argent energy and the Father's life spear was because he was tired of Hayden's yapping. I think it is absolutely a part of the Slayer's character that he fucking hates Samor Maker. Despite giving him godlike powers, attempting to protect humanity in his own way, telling him where to find the final Hell Priest, and helping him while on Urdak, despite all of that, he was about to body him in the Luminarium without batting an eyelid. And I guarantee you he wouldn't have done the same if Samor was human, and you want to know why? Valen. Valen betrayed humanity and the Night Sentinels by striking a deal with Hell and turned his son into the Icon, but the Slayer doesn't do anything about it. Yeah, Valen exiled himself to Hell, but it would have taken the Slayer 2 seconds to blow his head off in Eternal for committing such a crime. Hell, the Slayer had reason to kill him when Valen used Hell magic to resurrect him, but he doesn't because he sees the good intention in Valen and understands why he did what he did. Also, he's human, and the Slayer won't kill him because he doesn't look different from him. Anyway, the Father, huh? My theory is that the reason he destroyed it was because he can't allow the Father to return. The Father was by no means a saint. He betrayed his own creator because he received a Force vision or something. Granted, I don't think the Slayer knew that, but if I had to guess the Slayer's thought process, I think he believes that gods only serve to threaten humanity, and he literally has the life of gods in his hand, so why not break it? The Slayer is a no gods or kings, only man kind of guy, which is a bit ironic because it's heavily implied the Slayer was king of the Sentinels at one point, but I guess that's how he learned how bad they can be. This is all just my interpretation of the characterization of the Doomslayer. Unless the DLC for the Dark Ages plans to give the Slayer more dialogue and he yaps even more than Zip in the Tomb Raider Netflix show, we may never know why the Slayer does what he does. Not to jerk myself off, but I really like this idea of the Slayer, a man who, despite losing everything, never lost himself in his hatred for the demons. He still held on to his humanity and vowed to protect them even at the cost of anything else. Maybe I'm just a silly goose for trying to analyze a dude who exists to be the embodiment of the male power fantasy, or female, if you're chill like that. The lore of Doom is both really cool and absolutely incoherent. Kind of like RWBY, but Doom puts the cool characters front and center and is far less convoluted. Everything I've said about the Slayer can be changed on a dime in the next Doom game because Hugo Martin hates me specifically, but if they can remain constant with him, I think the Slayer wouldn't be a revolutionary character, but he would be an interesting one. But I guess that's also under the assumption I'm correct in my analysis. Anyway, like and subscribe where you have small PP. Okay, bye now.